No, I can't. Help me. Help me. Mother, where are you? Help me, Mother. I'm having a nightmare and I can't wake up.
Now the world is gone. I'm just one. Oh, God, help me. Hold my breath as I wish for dear. Oh, please, God, help me.
Me lying here like some freak in a carnival show.
He is the armless, legless wonder of the 20th century.
It has a dignity all its own.
Father, I need help. I'm in terrible trouble and I need help.
Don't you remember when you were little? How you and Bill Harper would bring a wire between the two houses so you could telegraph to each other? You'll remember the Morse code?
Darkness imprisoning me. All that I see, absolute horror. I cannot live. I
Remember
cannot
the
die.
Morse code?
Trapped in myself, fighting my own exhale.
It's Morse code.
For what?
SOS. Help.
Landmine has taken my sight, taken my speech, taken my hearing, taken my arms, taken my legs, taken my soul, left me with life in hell.
What's he saying?
He says kill me. Over and over again. Kill me.
Don't you have some message for him, Padre?
He's the product of your profession, not mine.
Kill me. I'm asking you to kill me. Thank you. Pray for me, please. Father.
Each man faces death by himself. Alone.
Goodbye, Father. Inside me, I'm screaming. Nobody pays any attention. If I had arms, I could kill myself. If I had legs, I could run away. If I had a voice, I could talk and be some kind of company for myself. Why don't they get it over with and kill me? I could yell for help, but nobody'd help me. I've just got to do something and see how I can go on like this.
Keep the home fires burning.
pain when you can't feel. Sad but true. I'm your truth, telling lies. I'm your reason, alibis. I'm inside, open your eyes. I'm sad but true. Shine, doing what I've shown. Never be, never see. Won't see what might have been. What I felt, what I've known. Never shine, doing what I've shown. Never free, never me. So I dug the unforgiven. Shine, doing what I've shown. Never be, never see. Won't see what might have been. What I felt, what I've known. Never shine, doing what I've shown. Never free, never me. So I dug the unforgiven.
click stop stream. Jesus. And transition. All right. What is up, everybody? Let's get over a little bit this way. Just get that way a little bit. Just make it more framed well. Good day, everybody. Welcome again to another Sunday morning, afternoon, whatever you want to call this stream. We got Jason back again. As you can see, he's been promoted back to brown belt. Last time he forgot his belt, so we're all good. Housekeeping, what to talk about. Yesterday was pretty cool. They had a seminar at my coach's gym, Agogi, in Severna Park. We had one of the Alliance founders. God, I'm gonna kill his name. Gigi. His nickname's Gigi. It was really, really interesting seminar. He talked about some reverse de la Riva stuff, but he basically talked about how all the options they have from that position and how to kind of address each of them. It's really good, especially because I don't use reverse de la Riva very often. So I was really happy to go there. It was about 3 hours in total. Probably want to say a little over 2 hours of technique stuff, and then he kind of did a Q&A at the end, which was interesting. He's kind of like me. He can kind of just talk and talk and talk. So it's good to know I'm not the only one that can just babble on. But it was good information. So, but that's not what I'm going to get into this week. This week, I'm going to talk about Lasso guard. Lasso guard is something I didn't do a lot of during my white belt or blue belt days. I don't know why. I don't know if it was just I wasn't exposed to it very much. I knew about it, but I didn't use it very often. But once I kind of started to play a little bit more grip game, lapel game, spider guard type stuff, I started adding it in. And what I found it was super helpful for me against folks that that I was having trouble with controlling. What's up, Coin? Thanks for coming back. And also, anybody in chat, please chat. We had some problems with chat not working last week for some reason. Not sure why. I think it's all fixed. Obviously, I saw Coin's chat, so that's good. Feel free to chat throughout, ask questions, whatever. But what I found is, and this has really helped me a lot, is Lasso guard has tremendously helped me against big people. I know I get into this a lot, and I talk about dealing with bigger folk a lot. The good thing about techniques that work against big folk is generally they work even better against people smaller than you or your size. If you can make it work on someone that's like 50 pounds heavier than you, you can almost always make it work on someone that's your size, or smaller. And usually it's easier. Not in every case, because sometimes the small people are a pain in the ass. They're squirrely or they move fast and stuff, and you have to learn that they might attack or defend something different than the big folk do. But what I like about Lasso guard is that against big folk, I can control them. It gives me a control of them. Whenever I'm dealing with somebody that's bigger than me, or who, especially someone that's like much younger than me, and like moves very fast and has a lot of cardio, my goal is to kind of tie them up and make them basically move at my speed, not their speed. If they're moving at their speed, they're probably going to be faster than me. But as soon as I lock them up, where you can use half guard for this, you can use lasso guard or worm guard even. I haven't gone into worm guard at all. I use it here and there. But you can really slow people down with that. And so I'll get into the details of how I set up my lasso guard here a little bit. So I think the best way to show this is probably this way So typically when I'm in my spider guard, and when I say spider guard, I'm not really talking about the full spider guard here with my feet and the hips. I do that, and I like to use that if I can. But what I have is my spider grips and my feet on the hips. This allows me to control the space. He can't really drive into me and get all his weight in me, but he also can't get away. I kind of have control here. If I can get one spider grip or spider guard kind of in the arm set up, that's fine. But I really, really need to have my feet on the hips to really set this up properly. So what I'm doing when I'm setting up this is I'm turning my hip out creating this space so I can kick through and then roll my foot through. Now, one of the things I need to make sure of when I'm doing this, the way I like to set up my lasso guard and use my lasso guard is where I'm deep through. And what we'll do is, let's turn this way so I can kind of show this. So, yeah. Is this. There are a lot of people that play like a shallow lasso guard like this, where they keep their foot kind of in the armpit and they're short. And that's fine. It allows me to get more hip movement and stuff like that. But to me, I prefer to come through, kick deep, so like my foot is almost touching his back or the back of his shoulder blade, and then I reset my hips. What that does is now I'm really deep on this arm. I can really move him around with this control. The other thing that's super important, we'll turn back to show this. Turn probably this way, it's probably best, is this. Once I get this lasso guard set up, it's the grip, okay? I'm not like this, because if I'm like this, because the person's going to want to get their arm out. They're almost always going to not like the fact that their arm is stuck in here. So they're going to be pulling their arm. And if he starts pulling his arm with my hands like this, it's really, my fingers aren't going to be able to hold that, okay? So what I do is once I have this set up, I get through and I turn my grip up. And then I take this and I put it in my pocket. Okay, I'm keeping this tight. What happens is now, as they pull, he can go ahead and pull, it's very, very hard for him to get this grip broken now. And it's not really putting a lot of pressure in my fingers. This will start to hurt after a while, you know, depending on how much pressure they're really pulling. But the thing is, I can keep this and I'm good to go. And the big thing is I'm rolling my elbow down here and keeping, I don't want to be up like this because it's going to make it easier for him to start pulling his arm back out. So what I do is I get to here, I turn my wrist up and I kind of put my wrist in my pocket. What that does is it keeps his arm stuck in here. Because what generally people want to do is they want to get room to roll this under my leg. If I give him space, he's going to roll this under, and yeah, he starts to push on my leg, and then it's going to really make this grip hard to keep. It's killing the position. The other thing is, if I don't have a good grip on this initially, when I'm setting this up, especially before, once I get this through and turn out, I'm good. But what happens is if I'm not cognizant enough and I'm sitting here and I'm lazy about getting this through, if he starts to pummel this down, he gets that rolled around and pushes down, you know, push it, now I'm screwed again, okay? Because basically the power of this position, once I get the lasso set up, is the fact that my knees pointed out. When my leg's down here, I have a grip, but I don't have a strong position at this point. I'm really in a bad spot. So just to show that again, because we have people showing up now, more people showing up, have my grips, I'm extending out. I kick out, I'm rolling in, and I'm kicking my leg through. So like my toes are almost touching his shoulder blade. Once I'm here, it's important for me to re-establish my hip. You know, if I'm to the side, that's where he's going to still be able to crush down on my legs. Even though I have this deep, and if he does crush down, the good thing is I can push and re-square myself up, okay? But I don't even want to give him the chance. I want to get here and square up. And now I have more control. And now I can start working on the position. Again, I'm turning my grip upwards and putting my wrist in my pocket. That way his arm is really locked into my hip here. And it's going to be very hard for him to get his arm out at this point. You know, people will start to try to lift you. People will do a lot of things. And that's fine. And that's fine because I'm keeping this maintained, you know. And that's when we could start working on the different positions and the different things that we're going to go for from here. You know, like a lot of positions, here, I'll let that go so give my fingers a break. Like a lot of positions, I like to, if I'm working on a new position, I like to learn a couple basic things, a couple basic sweeps, a couple basic, you know, basic ways of controlling them. And then you have to build on that based on what they do. Because if you have the wrong sweep at the right sweep at the wrong time, it's the wrong move. You know, if I'm trying to do something and he has my legs stuck together, even though I have a good grip and I have the leg through, excuse me, it's not going to work. Okay, and so what I'm going to show today is a couple basic things, a basic overhead sweep, which is one of the ones I use, especially when people stand up. I'm going to show, I don't know what the name of the sweep is, where you're putting your leg across and kind of basically you're sweeping them into a knee on belly. It's a relatively easy sweep, and you can do it against people standing or people on their knees. We'll probably just do it on the knees in this case. And then I'll show you how we can get to an omoplata from here, because anytime we have a grip on that, a control of the sleeve here, a grip of this arm, and our foot is under their armpit, we're just a roll away from going into an omoplata, which also sets up triangles and stuff. If we have enough time, I might show this triangle. There's a way to set up a triangle from this. I've hit it a couple times, but it's not high percentage to me. The omoplata happens a lot, because what happens is people start to pass, but I'm getting a little too ahead of myself here. So I've shown you the setting up of the lasso guard. So now I'm going to show you the overhead sweep. It's probably one of the first sweeps you'll learn from these lasso type positions if you're learning it at your gym or whatever. It's a really good one, because when you have control of their sleeves and your feet on their hips, you have a lot of control of where you move them and stuff. And a lot of times people will try to stack you from this position, especially people that don't deal with lasso very, very often. You know, sometimes people, their reaction is they just want to get heavy on you and they want to make it uncomfortable for you to be in that position. And that's fine, because a lot of times they're kind of they're giving us what we want anyway from that. But a lot of times people will stand up from these positions. And there's a lot of things we can do. There's a revert, like a De La Riva type thing, where because we have the arm controlled, we can De La Riva the leg, and now we have sweeps to the same side. There's a lot of options, but I'm not going to get too deep into those because it's way too much to get into. So I'm going to show just a couple of the basic things. So we're here, and let's scoot back a little bit that way, because we're going to be rolling over my back shoulder here a little bit. So we're here, and we've started to work, you know, our spider game. We have the grips here, we have the feet on the hip, so I'm kind of pulling and pushing. A lot of times if I can get them kind of laid out where they're stretched out, it gives me a lot more options. They're not as comfortable with position. So I turn my hip, I'm extending my one leg, giving me some space to roll under. I get here, and I turn up, okay? So a lot of times people's reaction is they'll try to stand up on you. You know, they'll stand, and then we're here. That's fine, because from here, all I want to do now, and let's go back in that corner a little bit. There we go. Yeah. Is now that I have him up, I want to roll him back over my head. In fact, probably over this side, the side that I have the arm controlled. Okay? I have both hands controlled, but this is the arm that can't do anything. He might be able to base out this way, even though I have a grip here. So if I try to roll him over this shoulder, a lot of times he's going to base out. Also, if I do that, he's going to run into all the TV and stuff. So I'm not going to do that way. But one of the important things I'm thinking about here is a lot of, very similar to what we deal with when we do a lot of sweeps from these type of positions, is we need to get our hips under his center of gravity. Because if he's based back, if he's like really way far back and far away from me, it's very hard for me to get him up and over. You know, I'm going to have to use a lot of my own strength and leg power and everything to do that, and I don't want to do that, okay? So what a lot of times I do is I try to kind of scoot my hips under and do what's called load them up. You know, yeah, you go ahead and grab that. That's a lot of times they're going to grab your lapel here and stuff. And I want to load him up, basically just like any throw, anything, where I get my hips under his center of gravity, which will be basically under the, think of it under the belt loop on his belt. I want to get my hips under there. So I'm here, I'm pushing out, he pushes back in, I scoot under. Okay, and now I'm under his center of gravity. I can then load him up and lift and roll backwards. Boom. Here, I'm going to kick my legs forward, come up, boom, to my mount. Hopefully you can see that. We don't have a ton of room. Yeah. You know, sometimes I can keep control of the hip, the wrists, but I don't care about the lasso control much anymore. Once I've flipped them over in a mount, now I'm in mount. Now I work on all my mount stuff. Okay? So let's go ahead and see that again. We'll do it from, in fact, we'll do it from this, you'll be here, and I'll do it backwards this way so we can see it from a different direction. That way you can also see the foot coming through from the back. Sorry, my belt's very loose today. So again, I have my spider grips kind of set up here. I got my hip movement because my feet are on his hips. A lot, like I said, I'm pushing, pulling, a lot of get him stretched out, make him uncomfortable. I'm turning my hip out, extending my right leg. This gives me space where he can't close in. You know, if he tries to come in, he really can't. You know, he has to kill my leg to get closer to me. I kick over, I kick my leg through, and see how my foot's touching the back? And then I turn out, okay? Now that I'm here, I wouldn't usually do this against someone that stays on their knees. If they stay on their knees, I'm going to try other things. But as soon as he steps up, this is where I'm going to start to work on this. You know, and I'll pull myself under him a little bit here, where my hips are more under his hips, and pull him forward. Once I load him up, I just kick him back, and usually the faster you do this, the easier it's going to be, the cleaner it's going to look, because you're using the momentum. So we're here, we kick up, over, boom, right up, right into mount. Okay? You all good with that?
Yeah.
Good. So there you've seen it from two different angles. That way you can go back and watch if you have any questions about that. You know, that's really good sweep. Obviously you end up in mount. Anything where you're on the bottom and you end up in mount or on someone's back is usually pretty good.
You're keeping control of the sleeve.
The one on the, yes.
With the other one.
Yes.
Not the lasso one though.
Yeah, so I keep control of the sleeves because what I like to do is once I get you up, I generally want to push the arm down, which is going to cause you to turn. Usually because the technique is a little cleaner that way, but also, you know, I'm generally doing this on people I like, and I want them to be able to roll as opposed to just face planting into the mat. I worry sometimes when I do this technique on like a white belt or something, because sometimes they don't know how to roll properly. So they'll just face plant straight in or spike their head right into the mat. The good thing is about this, unless they're like 300 pounds, I generally have pretty good control of them. So when I feel that they're not rolling right, I can turn to the side or, you know, I try to be nice to them. I don't drop them on their head. As much as I cannot drop people on their heads, I don't drop them on their heads. In competition or something like that, you know, I still don't want to drop people on their heads, but I'm not as worried about it. You know, if they don't know how to roll properly, especially if at this level, at purple belt level, if they don't know how to roll properly, it's not, that's kind of on them at that point. It's like not tapping when you're really stuck in something. It's like they should know better at this point. So learning how to roll, when you do your forward rolls and warm-ups and forward rolls in class, these are one of the reasons why. You know, generally it's not because we're forward rolling over someone's guard to do like a crazy, you know, cartwheel guard pass or something. It's usually because we're getting rolled, and if we don't roll properly, I probably did it a number of times as a white belt where I didn't roll properly and I spiked my head into the mat. And, you know, you feel a nice crack in your neck, and those build up over time. We don't like that. I don't like it. So doesn't strengthen your neck any to spike your head into the mat. So that's one of the options we have once we set up the lasso guard if they stand up. There's plenty of other ones. There's plenty of other like tripod type sweep stuff and all types of things. The good thing about with the lasso is we have one of their bases taken away. You know, when you're thinking about sweeping people, we think of them like one of the good analogies I've heard is thinking if they're a table. You know, if they're a table, they have 4 legs. You know, if you start taking away legs of the table, it's going to start falling in the direction that the legs are taken away from. With this lasso guard, one of their bases here is stuck. They can't take out base. So if you start to take them this way, the only thing they have as an option is to step out. And with this one, because we're taking them over our head and to that same side that the arm's trapped, we're basically taking them diagonally over this. And there's not many options that they can have to stop that. If their other arm is free, they can base out. It's still hard. That's, I would say that's probably a low percentage way of keeping yourself from getting swept in that position. But once you base out enough, you get your foot up and stuff. And that's why I like to take both the grips away. You know, load them up, punch it down, and then take them over the back. So that's one of the options we have. It's one of the more flashy options we have, I guess, but it's good, especially because
basic.
It's basic, but it looks good. It looks good if you do it to somebody and it works well, because you basically, you know, took them from where you were on bottom and you ended up on top in mount. In any kind of competition, for the most part, that's 6 points you just got, because not only did you sweep them, but you got mount. So it's 2 for the sweep and 4 for the mount. So it's a good option if you're down by 5 and there's not a lot of time left, except the lasso guard, sweep, overhead sweep to mount. So that's that one. Let me see if I load up backwards. Yep, I think that covers most of that. So what a lot of times people will do is they won't want to stand up because they feel like their arms are controlled, and they know, especially if they've been swept like this a couple times, they know that they don't want to stand up a lot of times and let you get under them to sweep them. So sometimes we have to set it up differently. This next one, we're going to still get under them, but we're doing it in a way that's more like a pendulum sweep. If you've ever done a pendulum or flower sweep, some people mix up the names of those. I don't know, to be honest, which one's which anymore. But the concept's essentially the same, okay? So we're going to set up the lasso guard, same as we do. And all these start or come from the same setup. We're still setting up the same lasso stuff. One thing I will say real quick is that if we do set up a lasso here, one of the other things I like to do a lot of times is then set up a spider grip or spider guard setup on the other side, because this allows me to move him. There's some other sweeps where we get under them and sweep them to out here, where we take our leg out and scissor sweep them. There's a lot of good options we have from here. So, and a lot of times if I get this and I get deep here, I like to kind of control both. You know, at least until I'm ready to go for whatever sweep I'm trying to work on. Again, keeping my elbow tight, keeping this hand in my pocket, and making sure I'm controlling his posture. You know, like I said, against big folk, the reason I like this is because big folk that really like to get explosive, if they start exploding up and moving, you're connected to them. As long as you have this grip in here, they're basically going to be pulling your weight all over the place, and they're going to tire out really quick that way. I try not to do that. I try to essentially attack the control they have, the connection they have to me. I try to attack that and undo it, because that way I'm not wasting a bunch of energy and blowing myself out, moving them all over the place. Okay? But so this situation, he's not standing up. He knows that he doesn't want to get swept over his head here. Okay? So what we're going to set up now is something a little different. So we're here. I know I want to start working on a sweep here, and this one's going to end up in knee-on belly, okay, where I'm on the side control knee-on belly. The way we do that, we're here, we're moving, they're moving. I take my foot out and I move it across his hip, and I'm kind of putting it in the pocket here. Let's actually turn this way real quick so we can see. I'm sorry. So what I'm doing here, if you look, I'm moving my foot across and tucking it into his hip here. Okay? This is going to allow me now to take my other arm and get under his leg. Now we're going to have to switch back so you can see this, but I wanted to show this because this is very important. I'm taking this across and hooking my foot on his hip. There might be other ways of setting your foot up and stuff. This is the way I really like to do this, because now I feel like I have control here with this hook here, and I have control here, so he can't move his hip this way at all. A lot of times, people that are savvy about lasso guard, they're going to pass to the side you have the lasso set up. This gives me a minute to set this up where he can't pass to that side now, because I have his hip hooked. So now let's go ahead and swing back to the other side again. I'll just that way. Over here. So I got my lasso guard here. I was playing this, or I had it on the hip, whatever, and I transition it over to here, okay? Now you're going to think I'm moving this out, he can start to pass this way. That's what I like, actually. I like when people, and we'll
Try to push the knee out of the
they'll,
way.
they'll try to do this. And if they do that, they're giving us good stuff, okay? And we're going to show that next. In fact, I'll show what happens a lot of the times. When I try this on people and they do that, I immediately go to the thing we're going to get into next, okay? So, but I've got the hook across the hip here. This is still tight. And now I'm going to take my hand. Let's scoot back a little bit, sorry. I need to make it where you can see a little bit wider on this camera, I think, for certain things like this. We're doing a lot of moving around here. I'm going to shoot my arm under his leg, okay? You can do this where you get a grip on the outside of the knee too. I've seen people do that like that. Me, I prefer to scoop under the leg, okay? Because what that allows me to do is the same thing we were talking about before, where I'm getting my hips under his center of gravity. When they're down like this, it's harder. I can't really pull him up onto me as much as I can when he's standing, or I can't move myself under there. So for this, I'm going to scoop under here, and this allows me to start to get under him, and I'm going to pull him towards me. And what's going to happen is, it's like almost like my knees are kind of like a little table that he's laying on top of. So I turn under here, and you see now his weight is loaded up on top of me, and I just underhook and drive forward. Boom, here. I post. Now I let this lasso go. My hand comes this way. You know, what happens is I come up like this. Let's, sorry. We had the lasso here. We had the, here. I underhooked and I came up to here. I don't like to stay here now because now my legs are close together and everything. So I let this go and I post. Get my leg out. My knee is on his belly. I take my hand to his hip to make sure I'm blocking this. And then I get my grip here. And then I'm in knee on belly. You know, that's a 4-point sweep because you swept 2 points, knee on belly established is another 2 points. And then we can start. I mean, I like this just because I'm already here. I'm already starting to set up my baseball bat choke. You know, I'm starting to do a lot of good things I like from there. Okay, so I'm going to show that again. And let's do it from this way because then I'll be taking you this way, and I think it'll be a good vantage point, especially from far back here. So we're here, boom. I got him in my spider guard. I kick, loop through, reset. Kick my foot over to his outside hip. You see how far away I'm here? This is not going to work. Now I can't sweep him. That's why I let this go and shoot myself under here. This is going to, and then I extend my knee out. This is going to help to pull him on top of me. And then I just roll forward. Boom, here. I come up, post, drive my knee into the belly, grab the hip, grab the grip, here, boom. Right into my knee on belly. If you like doing knee on belly on people, because you like to make them feel bad about themselves, it's a good sweep. Gets them right into that position. You can go, come on. Yep. Does anyone have any questions about that? Anybody, usually people don't have questions, so I just want to check. Doesn't look like it. So, either that or the chat isn't working, which would not surprise me. That's what happened last week. So, but I would see it pop up on the other screen up there. So those are two very, very basic sweeps from the lasso guard. There's a million different other options. That's what I love about lasso guard is you have one of their bases controlled. A lot of different things you can do. If they're really trying to go pull back, pull back, pull back. There's a lot of pushing type things you can do. With these, I like to scoot under, get under them, load them up, and sweep them. It gives me a lot of good options, especially if you look at these two. One, we end up in mount. The other one, we end up in knee on belly. Two very, very good positions to end up in after a sweep. You know, what I also find about these types of sweeps, sweeps that end up in very, very good positions, is if somehow you screw it up halfway through, you still get a sweep. You know, you might not end up on knee and belly. You might be in just side control. Okay, it was 2 points. It's fine. You know, we still swept. We still maintained the position. We got what we wanted was them not on top of us anymore. Okay? So one of the things we talked about was when someone will grab that knee and punch it through. Okay? And the concept that especially if you're going against people that don't deal with lasso type guards very often, they're going to try a lot of times to pass to the side that's opposite the lasso setup. It feels like it should be what they should do. If they're not experienced with it, it feels correct. I use this a lot against people because I allow them to feel like they should be able to pass that direction. And I use it for, there's other sweep options. The one we just did actually is still an option. You can still keep that lasso, underhook the leg and drive the knee out. I do that with that, and I also do that with a spider. If I have a spider grip set up with my foot and their bicep on that same side, if people pass to the outside, I let them, because then I'll kick, underhook their leg, and they usually go right over. I use it a lot against people that they're really trying to force a pass to the opposite side that I have the arm controlled. And unless they get flattened out very quick, if they get past and then get their weight down very quick, that's the only situation where it's successful for them. And even then, I usually have options to re-guard or get back out of it because I have that arm controlled. But one of the things I do a lot of times, I do this all the time with this lasso guard, it's probably the thing I do 60 to 70% of the time in all honesty, is I get the lasso guard set up and I bait them to pass the other side because it gives me an opportunity to roll invert, I guess, into an omoplata, which then I use to come up, and you can either finish with it or use it to simply sweep them and get on top. Okay, and it's gonna, in fact, I'll show it right off of what we just did. Probably the best way would be with you facing this way. So like what we were saying was, as we were talking about, if I'm here, I extend out and I have this lasso set up and I have a deep here and I go for this and he starts to pass and people feel like everybody feels.
They'll reach for their head.
Yes, they'll reach for the head. And here's the thing, if they can grab the collar and keep me from going under, that's when I start to have problems. Okay, so make sure they don't get a collar grip or an underhook, a deep underhook on the head, because I need to get under here. If I'm here now, he's gotten flattened down.
It still works.
It can still work. I have to create the space though. It means I have to work a lot more to make it happen. I prefer to hit it before that. That way I'm not spending a ton of energy with their weight on me. Especially against really, really big folk like Kyle and stuff like that. I just want to make this work right at the initial point of it, okay? So let's say I was going for that. Let's say I went for this. I let this go because I wanted to underhook, and he immediately starts to push this through and come out. What I'm going to do is I want to take my head and shoot it under this space here now. Usually I'll use my outside foot to help me kind of go under, but it kind of looks like this at live speed. So we're here, he's going, pushing under, I'm coming under, up, boom, right into my omoplata, making sure I control this arm, and then I can come up and start attacking, okay? Let's scoot back a little bit so we can see that a little better. You'd be amazed at how often this works. It's probably the main way I get into omoplatas, actually. Go and scoot back all the way to the wall. Because your work ended up really, really far up there. So, we're here. I have the lasso set up here. Boom. I'm here. I'm bringing my foot across. Or I lost this grip and he grabs my ankle and is pushing it under. And he's starting to pass this way. That's when I kick up, under, boom. And then come up to my omoplata. I'm keeping this arm controlled, kind of still in my pocket. If he starts to get out here, that's when he can rise up and start to pass this way, and I don't want that. Okay? Keeping this arm here. Let's get back a little bit, sorry. Here, I lock up, and I drive my leg forward. If I'm worried, really worried about him posturing back up, I don't lock up right away. I'll kick my leg forward. So if he go ahead and start posturing up. If he's posturing up, I'm going to kick my leg forward and straighten it. Boom. And push him down and come up. Okay, that's going to give me my control here, where I can then lock if I want, or just start to come up and start attacking the omoplata, or switch, start flattening them out. Everything you've probably learned in terms of attacking omoplatas apply at that point. By the same token, if he's really hell-bent on posturing back up and maybe I can't get him back down, that's when we can turn it into a triangle. Just like anytime you have someone in an omoplata, let's just show that real quick, I guess. Go ahead and go down into this omoplata here. So if I have him in, we're not going to, we'll just get to the omoplata from here. Yeah. So if I have him in omoplata here, right, but for whatever reason I can't really keep him down, so he's really posturing up, this is the point where I can kick out here, boom, attack this, and set up the triangle, okay? A lot of times people give you those opportunities when they're trying to posture themselves out of omoplatas. So that's my main way whenever I have a lasso guard. If someone starts to pass, that's why a lot of people that have been in, like, are very, very knowledgeable about lasso guard, or have just had it happen to them over and over again, they almost never will pass to the opposite side of that arm. You know, they're here, their arm's stuck here, this arm's stuck in. They'll figure out ways to boom, press down, get this out, and pass to the same side that their arm's stuck. That's the smart thing to do. Because as soon as you start going to the other side, you're giving them omoplatas, you're giving them a lot of options, because that arm being stuck, it's very hard to not get swept when you're going to the opposite side. For some reason, I can tell you it feels to the person on top. Like, especially if you let them have space to just pass. A lot of times I'll let people have the space where they feel like they can just pass to that side, and I shoot under and get the omoplata, or shoot under and turn the omoplata into a triangle, and all of a sudden it hasn't turned out very well for them. So that's another thing you can do from there. That one takes a little bit of time working on inverting and stuff. You know, for a person of my size, I'm pretty flexible, and I'm pretty squirrely, I guess, when it comes to that. I like inverting. I like inverting when I'm doing stuff. Generally, for a day or two afterwards, I don't like inverting because my neck and back don't feel very good. But typically, that omoplata setup there is something I use a ton these days, just because I feel very confident in it. So that's that. I think I've shown it a couple times from there, so that's probably covered pretty well. So we have a little bit of time left. I'll go into the one last thing from this that I wanted to show today, which was the triangle setup from there. Okay, this isn't something I hit very often. It's very similar to that omoplata setup, except we switch our grips. I'll try to make it look as good as I can, but like I said, it's not something I hit a lot, but it's something that's important to understand that it's an option. Again, if you're just now starting lasso guard stuff, focus on the first sweeps, focus on sweeps, focus on those type of things, and feeling the position out. You're going to see, especially if you're like white belt going against white belt or something like that, and you start setting these up, you have a lot of options, a lot of things you can do, okay? But this is one of the more flashy, this is probably the flashiest thing I do from this position, and it's setting up a triangle, like a straight into a triangle from the lasso, okay? So kind of like before, I think we're going to be facing this way, probably best. And again, I'll apologize if it doesn't look as clean as some of the other stuff I've done, because this isn't something I do very, very often. I feel good when I set this up, though. I feel good when I hit this. So again, same thing as before, keeping this tight, coming through, boom, getting this through. So now, a lot of times people are going to start pushing your leg down. They're trying to get this leg off because that's what's giving you control. So we need to switch our grips. Right now I have same side grips on both these spider grips, okay? So I'm going to take my right hand and grip this lasso thing here. You know, sometimes I find it's hard to get the second grip after this, especially if they know I'm trying to get the grip. But also they're usually pushing on my leg, they're pushing on something that gives me an opportunity to get this grip. Now I have this cross grip. I'm basically trying to do the exact same thing I did with the omoplata, in that I'm going to invert under and spin. But I don't need to come up to the omoplata from here. You know, maybe even getting my foot to the other side here, kind of like we did with the sweep to side control, will help. So I'm coming under, I'm spinning under, and I'm pulling boom, right into this triangle. Okay, if you see, I was pulling his arms up, keeps him in. People will immediately back out as soon as they feel you're trying to do this. Now I have the triangle set up. I keep the grip here so I can control this arm. Grip my shin, change out, and go for the triangle, and then finish the triangle. Okay? So I'll show that again. I should have taken my fingers before today. And you have
Especially
a pretty
Lasso.
yeah, well, definitely. Yeah, you'll notice whenever you see me training or competing, I look like a mummy with my fingers because I've learned over the years that it's just smart to take my fingers ahead of time and not let them get twisted up as much. I figured today would be less intense, so it wouldn't be that big a deal. But this one twists up my finger pretty good. So again, I'm going to show that one last time. We're here, boom, here. Underhook, setting up the lasso. I transition my grips here, okay? And now I want to invert and spin, okay? I don't need to come out the side or whatever. In fact, I feel like just creating space is enough to set this up. But I create space, I invert, and spin, oops, I spin under and pull them up, boom, right into my triangle. I let go of this grip back here because I don't need it anymore. But I keep this one, so I want to try to keep this across if I can. Come up, grab my hip, or grab my shin, turn out, set up the triangle, and then boom, we have the finish. Okay? Like I said, that's the flashiest thing I do from those lasso guard stuff, and I don't do that very often. Yes.
I took a private with one of the Alliance guys that came through, and he showed kind of a similar thing, defending the weave pass.
Oh yes, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Do you want to show that real quick? I'll show
you. Can use kind of the same.
Yeah.
The same principle from like this knee shield half, right?
Yeah. So yes, just so you know what the weaving is, kind of the weave pass is a lot of times when people have if you're the top person and they have this knee shield here. A lot of times what people do is they'll take this hand and drive it through, and tell me if I'm doing anything wrong for this, but they will drive this through and kind of cup the hip or here or whatever, so that they can start to put pressure down on the legs and then start to sprawl out to pass.
So look what he just did. He put himself in my lasso.
Yep. All he has to do is grab and turn out, and he's basically I put my arm right into his lasso guard.
What's the other name for this? It's not weave, it's something else.
I've always heard it as weave.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
So let's turn this way a little bit. Let's turn here and
so
back this way a little bit. There you go. There you go. Yeah, because you see, it's the same thing we were talking about earlier. You know, just turn it out. This is a lasso right here, and I'm giving him the lasso here.
Right. I mean, it's not a good lasso because my legs are squished together. Especially if he has weight on my legs.
Yeah.
And then what he said, like grab my collar here. So this is bad. This is the beginning of the end for me. So what I need to do here is address this grip, right? So I bring this hand inside and I pop. Okay. I keep this grip here, and then I can start, I can start getting up here. Like if you already sprawled this leg out, then it would be here. But like, see how, he just showed rolling back to guard, but look, I mean, there's the omoplata here, or if you posture up,
boom, right in the triangles, yes.
So,
yeah, that's it's funny that you mentioned that, because one of the ways I set the lasso up a lot of times is when people try to weave. And like he said, if you go back down real quick.
Yeah, like I didn't control that one, I controlled that one. But it's basically,
Well, and the thing is,
same
do
principle.
that again real quick. And see, because he's not controlling the lasso type grip, that's probably why you end up in guard most likely.
Right. Well, that's why. Like, I guess I could even hold this, right?
Well, that's the thing. Once you break this,
after I break this, right,
Yep.
I could just come to
Yep,
here,
boom.
right? Take
and they're gonna
myself
sprawl out. Yep.
take myself out of half guard, and then just get up here, right?
Boom.
And then I got this,
Yep.
or if you
Or if I
posture up
Boom.
here,
Right in the triangle. Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
So that's another. You'll see similar concepts that apply to different positions.
Yep. And the thing is, once you start working on the lasso a little bit, or once you start working on some of these positions, you'll start seeing where there's opportunities to enter
Use the
them
same
from
moves.
yeah, the same type of moves, same
Yeah.
movements from other things. Like someone starts doing that weave pass, just getting the grip set up or whatever, the movement is very similar or the same. Um, you know, you'll have a spider grip of some sort. They're starting to pass. You can see all I have to do is kick that leg under, and I can immediately roll into a triangle or a omoplata and stuff. So there's a lot of things that connect, and this is what I talked about with jiu-jitsu being connections. You start learning some of these lasso concepts. They start to show themselves in a lot of other spaces, and it's really, really good. Again, the reason I really like this is because it ties up big folks. You know, regardless of how big they are, as long as I have that kind of tied up, they can't explode away. It doesn't matter how strong they are. Usually, if I have that grip in my pocket, they're not going to be able to pull and get that grip out, you know? And if they are pulling to the point where they're using all their power, it's okay, let it go and then push them. You know, they're pulling back so far, you know, letting that go and doing a hip bump. Hip bump's probably one of the earliest things you'll ever learn. You know, like I say all the time on this stream, the fundamental stuff is fundamentals because it works. And once you get to a certain level, they might seem harder to do because everybody knows them. Then it becomes, then it becomes, where am I using it? The timing I'm using that. That hip bump is, even to this day, I get hip bump sweep by people better than me because they'll set me up with something else to where I'm trying to get out of one thing, my weight's back, and then they just shoot to the hip bump right away. And I feel silly because they just hip bump sweep me. I'm like, that's something that white belts learn.
Let me show you the connection with the lasso and the hip bump.
Okay.
So, you know, Bisha, you know how he's hard to do moves on?
Yes.
Like he resists.
Yes, he's very.
So like, you know, I was showing this one here, you know, and I like to put tension when I control arms because I have shorter legs, and I like to control the box, which is the inside.
Yep.
You know, and I came here, and I go for, I think I was grabbing the pants, but I mean this is the same, right? So, but put all your weight back. Yeah. If you put all your weight back, it's hard to load this guy up.
You can't get under me.
So what did I have to do? I had to control this arm, and like, and actually it was this, like it was this, like that. I had to use that.
That hook under the arm
to get him to get. But the concept of if all the weight's back, the answer is to go forward.
Yeah, and that's where,
You know.
if you're still just learning these moves for the first time and stuff, this is probably going to be a little bit ahead of what you're thinking of. I mean, look, if you're a white belt thinking about this stuff, then you're probably going to progress pretty quick because this is the stuff that those connections that people talk about where, you know, you get hell bent. You know, he has a setup to get under me, to sweep me, but I know that, so I'm weighted so far back.
Just push off this hand and keep the lasso and just push him
Probably.
back. Yeah.
That's the thing, especially the direction you're pushing to. If I can't base back, you know, if my weight's back, you know,
Well, they'll
especially
base with that hand.
this
You
one.
know what I mean? But maybe that would give you the opportunity to take him.
Well, and that's where it goes to even another level where it's they're based back because they don't want to let you get under them, so you push them, which makes them go, oh, I don't want to go back, so they start to come forward, and then you shoot right under them. It's like setting up to allow them to give you what you want, and that's where sometimes it's like a
Post a
seesaw.
leg
Yep,
or whatever.
exactly. Or post a leg, and then you get it under because they're making sure they don't want to go back, and then boom, they're giving you the space to get under them. It's like a seesaw. You know, it's like up and down, push, pull. You know, look, if it works great the first time you do it, you get right under them and sweep, great. That's how it's supposed to work. But, you know, I know, like, when someone gets me in a go ahead and get me in a lasso.
Sure.
Like, when someone gets me in a lasso type
Yeah,
position.
For me, I like to be. This is my launching pad.
Yep.
Is here
Yep.
where my hip is elevated a little bit, and my legs are flared.
Yep.
And then I feel like I can.
Come up and get it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Here.
And there. So
Yeah,
when I feel this,
Yeah.
I never want to go forward at this point because I know as soon as I go forward, I'm giving him a lot of the things that I want. So I usually kind of base back. I'm starting to get back and my weight's coming back. So that's where, you know, if he gets hell-bent on doing things that get under me from here or do things that get my weight on top of him, he's going to have a hard time because I'm aware of that. I'm making sure my hips are far back and everything. But as soon as he starts to counter that and starts to do things that, oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Sorry, yeah, my gi is.
There we go.
There we go. I make sure my gis are very, very rough, so it's hard for people to use these techniques on me. You know, but as soon as he starts to pressure me and push me up here, or starts to sit up into me and stuff like that, all of a sudden I'm like worried about going backwards. So then I'm going to push my weight forward, which then if he's ready for it, he gets right under me and boom. You know, he's like let's say go even you're doing this, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you start to kick me up, and, yeah, like this. I'm like, no. So I start to push forward. He gets under, boom, right over.
Yeah.
You know, so that's where a lot of this the concept of push
That's
pulling.
very common. Like kind of get up on your shoulder a little bit.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like you're here. You can have this grip or whatever, but like you know, like
Yes,
making them post or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
see how I posted back? Now I don't want to go back anymore.
Yeah, now I got boom, man.
Right under.
So, like,
Right
you
under.
watch
Yep.
the guy.
Yep. And so that's where you'll start to see as you progress through your jiu-jitsu journey, you start to be able to feel that and feel like you're not wasting as much time focusing on the first technique. I'm going to hit this first technique. I'm going to hit this first technique. If you look, he hit the first technique really, or the second technique technically. He hit the second technique we worked on, but he did it because he set up something else, which made me adjust. That basically gave him.
It made you react by
Yeah,
posting.
Exactly. I feel like now I don't want my weight back, so I'm starting to weight forward, and now it's easy for him to get right back under me. If he's just hell bent on getting under me, and I know it, it's going to be very, very hard for him to set up what he's actually trying to set up. And so that's where, and I'm still working on this myself to get this progression of like chaining these moves together where it's like, okay, I can't get this, I shift to something else. And then once I attack that other thing, that first thing I was working on was right there. Or maybe it's three different things I'm attacking, you know? I'm doing this, I go for a spider guard sweep instead, like a spider or scissor type sweep. You know, it doesn't work, so then but through those first two things, it gets me right under them. Boom, take them over. Mm-hmm. And you'll start to see as you feel like you progress on that stuff, it becomes easier to hit sweeps on people. It becomes easier to set all this up because they're constantly adjusting. But you're the one dictating what's happening. You know, you're the one attacking this, and then hitting the last thing. You know, so they're constantly adjusting, and you can just constantly attack. You know, and sometimes you'll do only 3 attacks. But because they're constantly adjusting, eventually they're going to fall behind, and you get one of them, you know?
Yeah, the beauty of the lasso is you got moves when I'm on my knees, and you don't have to adjust too much when I stand.
Yeah.
You keep the same lasso
Yep.
grip, and you're still in the same guard.
Yep.
You just use different sweeps.
Yes, and that's what I didn't do a lot of the standing up stuff, but a lot of times if I can, you know, with that lasso, you can hook it behind their leg, and then you're using that lasso grip in your leg to basically take the whole ability of them to base out to one side away. They have no leg that can go out. They have no arm that can go out. And at that point, it becomes very easy to sweep people to the direction. You know,
want to see a cool sweep?
Yeah.
Standing?
Yeah.
All right. So, like what you said earlier, you know, marrying different guards, like, you know, lasso with a spider.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
This helps me move your weight around a little
Mm-hmm.
bit. You know, so like when you stand here, I can use the spider to get your leg closer to me.
Mm-hmm.
See, now it's within arm's reach, and I can grab your pants or your ankle or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then I'm gonna take my foot that was up in your armpit onto your quad here,
Mm-hmm.
and then use it as a platform to help raise my hips and
Ah.
get this deep de la riva here.
Yeah. I love
Now all I gotta do is twist your body, and I have your post taken away with the lasso here.
that.
And then I got you.
Yep.
So you can start marrying, you know, the Lasso with Spider and with De La Eva.
Yeah, and that's
So-
anytime people stand from those the Spider or the Lasso when they stand, I almost always am looking for that hook on the De La Eva because I feel like it connects me even more to them and it controls that leg.
Yeah.
And then they're stuck in so many different ways. It becomes very difficult for them not to fall in some
Yeah.
way.
I mean, that was a pretty elaborate one with the De La Eva,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I think I could have done the same thing, like with so stand here, so like bringing this leg closer just so I can hook it.
Yep.
And then bringing this leg across here, and then bringing my knees towards my chest to lower you
Yep.
here, and then go
Boom, right over. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's very similar. I mean, it's almost the same thing as that second sweep we did. You're just setting it up from a different position.
Right.
You know, when they're
And
standing.
I'm using the Spider to assist me with bringing what I want, which is getting control of your leg.
Yep. It's all good. That's what I love about these type of positions is there's so many options. There's so many ways you can go with it. And a lot of times you find these by trying it and seeing what people do. You know, that's anything I've worked, to be honest, is I've progressed in it because I've seen someone, you know, I've kicked them a little way and their foot came up. I didn't underhook or I didn't get the grip, but I noticed, oh, when I do that, he has to step forward to keep his base. Next time I have to remember to do that if I'm trying to get the leg controller or something. So go play with this. Go train with this. Go set up a lasso. I mean, like I said, the first thing you should try, setting up the lasso. And keeping this tight and controlling your opponent with it. You know, see what they do. See how they react. You know, I wouldn't say do this sweep, do that sweep right away. Look for, you know where your options are, but get this lasso set up first and control your opponent with them. And then build off of that. It's all little improvements on that. Boom, 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 until you're starting to use it as a part of your game. That's really what I started to do. I didn't use lasso a lot until I was a purple belt. You know, I knew about it. I knew the concepts as a blue belt, but I just didn't use it very often. And then as I started to play a little bit more lasso guard, a little bit more like lapel type guards, a little bit more spider guard, I found like I liked using it from spider guard simply because straight spider guard, I found like my fingers were getting very tired and very twisted up and stuff from a traditional spider guard setup. So I started using a lasso because with this tucked, I'm not getting as much twist and turn on my fingers and stuff. And I started to build off of that and find all these options. And what you'll find is people will start opening up things for you. They'll start giving you stuff because they're reacting to what you're attacking them with. So go give that a try. I think that's it. We've done about an hour now. It was good stuff. I really like I said, I really like this. It's one of those things. I feel like if you're a white belt and you start getting good at lasso, you go to competitions and put people on lasso, other white belts, you're going to kill them.
They're not going to know how to pass.
They're not going to know how to deal with it. They're not going to know how to break out of it. They're going to pass that side and give you the omoplata stuff. They're going to pass the opposite side and give you easy sweeps because they don't know how to react to it. You know, ultimately, you know, we need to be able to do these against people that know what we're doing. But the earlier you start getting good at this stuff, the better your game is going to be once you hit the blue belt, purple belt, and you've been doing lasso guard the whole time. You know, don't do it at the expense of your guard retention. Don't do it, you know, don't focus on this and then anytime you don't have this, people pass your guard left and right. Make sure your fundamentals are strong and stuff before you start getting into the more, I would say more elaborate stuff like this kind of stuff, but don't forget about it and definitely work on it some. Even if it's something you're going to shelve for later, you know, get some of the feeling down a little bit so you know what to do once you get to there. So that's it for this week. We'll be back next week. I posted about this. If you watch my Instagram or any other stuff, I posted about this. I'm starting to make available privates. If you want to come and do private, you can do it here. We'll record the whole thing. That way, you know, when you're on your drive home or you get home and you forgot half of the stuff. I mean, the seminar I went to yesterday, I remember most of it, but I guarantee you there's details I've already forgot. little things and like, because there were 6 or 7 different techniques basically, or technique positions that were shown, all from the same thing, but different kind of varieties of what the opponent does. I know I'm going to forget some of that stuff. So what I have the ability to do here is we can record the whole private session. You get the benefit of working on whatever it is. I can give you pointers, I can give you help with a lot of stuff, and then I basically can send you a copy of the recording. That way, next day you're thinking about it at work or whatever, and you're like, man, I can't remember what he was talking about with this, or you're about to go to class and you wanted to review something, just pull it up. You'll have a copy of it. You can download and watch and remember everything. We'll go through everything, help you with anything you need help with, show you my take on this couple things, and help improve your game as much as we can. So that's an option if you're into that. If you're on Twitch, just go down below. There's a link down there. If you're watching this on any other format, watching it later or whatever, you can email me at PlatinumBJJ@outlook.com. Just hit me up. You know, we can do a single session, we can do multiple sessions. My schedule's pretty free right now in terms of flexibility with my time. If you want to do something super in the morning, or you work until late at night and you need to do something later, we can accommodate you here. So just hit me up, let me know. That's it for this week, and then come back next week. Go watch the Ravens win tonight on Sunday Night Football. That'll be fun, right? All right. Till next time. Oh, and thanks, Jason, for
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason, for coming and helping. It's always great to have him on board. He's always got good information. So.